Wilkins drops back in the pocket, lobs it up for N'Keal Harry. He leaps, makes the catch, dives into the end zone. Touchdown, Arizona State.
Manny from the 2 fakes the handoff, jumps over a defender into the end zone with the point. Wilkins.
The kick is up, and it is good. Down goes Michigan State, 16-13.
Hey, how's it going? Yo, welcome into the house alongside Blaine McCormick. I'm Austin Burnett. Blaine, tough loss for Arizona State on the road to San Diego State, but there were plenty of highlights.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Austin. Plenty of highlights, couple of Manny Wilkins hurdles, and, well, instead of talking about it, Austin, why don't we just show you?
Arizona State looking to raise some hell in America's finest city, and this school, San Diego, well, it's also Herm Edwards' alma mater. Early second quarter, Juwan Washington finds a hole and just runs with it. 13-yard rushing touchdown, and this ties this game up at 7 apiece. Now, San Diego, they're known for their rushing attack, but Arizona State is known for their passing game. Here's Exhibit A. Manny Wilkins to Frank Darby. 51-yard pass up the middle, and that sets up another touchdown from who else but Manny Wilkins. But let's break this down for you. Fakes the handoff, goes to the end zone, and just hurdles the man to get in there. Only gets 7 points, but in my book, Manny got 27 because of the style. Hey, let's take you back over to this late second quarter as Ryan Agnew passes it over to Tim Wilson Jr. for the 9-yard passing TD. And Agnew, well, he's their backup quarterback. These fans ain't playing chicken. They're with Herm Edwards. And the San Diego State Aztecs once again put another score on the board as Chase Jasmine forces himself into the end zone. 28-14 SDSU at this point. And Manny Wilkins escapes out of the pocket. So nice you got to do it twice. Another hurdle for Manny Wilkins to go on the 15-yard run. That sets up a perfect touchdown pass to N'Keal Harry, who's just doing N'Keal Harry things this season. Now 28-21 San Diego. We mentioned Frank Darby once before. Well, we'll mention him again. Wilkins lobs up another big pass, and Darby catches it, but then kerplunk. A head-to-head hit, and the defender would be called for targeting on that play. Now here's the thing. Darby maintained control, but it was called incomplete as the ball hit the ground. One more pass for Manny Wilkins to try and put this into overtime, and it's swatted away. San Diego State wins this one 28-21 for the second year in a row. Well, the Sun Devils might have gotten the loss 28-21 to the Aztecs, but we at House of Sparky are getting the win, and that's because we're bringing in Noah Lau to diagnose this game. So, Noah, in your opinion, what's the turning point in this contest against the Aztecs? Because for me, it's that 4th and 1 right before halftime.
The turning point for me on that game against SDSU was that third quarter. ASU was only able to muster 9 offensive total yards. They went 3 and out on every single drive in that quarter, and because of that, the defense has to be on the field for an extended period of time. 8 minutes on the field in that third, rolling into that fourth. The defense was able to hold its own, only giving up 3 points in that third quarter, but in that fourth, a touchdown and field goal, and we know how the rest of the game played out.
Yeah, San Diego very heavy on the rush, and they're going up against Washington, who is also going to be heavy in the rush. But let's talk about the receiving game for Arizona State. The rushing game wasn't really there for the Sun Devils, but where the receivers really were. Frank Darby had a very good game. Do you see him really emerging out of his shell and possibly becoming another N'Keal Harry for the Sun Devils?
Right, so like you mentioned, ASU already has 2 dynamic players on the offensive side of things. You got Manny Wilkins and you got N'Keal Harry. If ASU has 1 or 2 guys really step up, they can be a much more dynamic offense in college football. In the first game, Benjamin, 16 carries, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was a big part of putting up 49 points against that UTEP team. In that second game, Kyle Williams was an explosive player, 7 catches, 141 yards. In the last game against SDSU, Frank Darby, 5 catches, 127 yards. So if ASU has 2 guys that really step up on the offensive side of things, they could be one of the better offenses in college football.
And even a possible third with Brandon Ayuk. He got his first Sun Devil touchdown of his career against the Aztecs, and a very special moment for him. But you got to talk about this Sun Devil defense. They just did not look good against the Aztecs, especially with the rush defense. What needs to change? Because they're going up to Washington, and they are a darn good football team.
So yeah, that rush defense was not very good against SDSU. They were proclaimed the #1 rush defense in college football up until that game. But now, going to Washington, they're nowhere even close to that. 311 yards given up against SDSU. And not only the rush defense, that run blocking needs to be better. 80 yards over the last 2 games, 1.5 yards per rush against SDSU. So if ASU can clean up those 2 things, they'll be much more competitive going into Washington.
We'll see what adjustments are going to be made for the defense. Noah, thanks so much for coming on The House. We're going to send it over to Austin Burnett real quick to tell us about one key moment towards the end of that game.
Arizona State is coming off a back-breaking loss to San Diego State that came down to a controversial call at the end of the game. Let's take it to 14 seconds left in the game. The score is 28-21 in favor of San Diego State. Manny Wilkins chucks the ball deep to Frank Darby in what seemed like a completed 48-yard pass to the receiver, while taking a bruising shot to the head from San Diego State's Trenton Thompson with 6 seconds left. However, Thompson was called for a targeting, which was then reviewed. When the referees emerged from the review booth, it was determined that the call stood and Thompson did commit a targeting penalty, and Thompson was ejected from the game. The referee went on to say that it had also been determined that Darby had lost control of the ball during the process of the catch, resulting in an incomplete pass. This had all Sun Devil fans raving at their TVs, and I actually had someone show me their phone from when they slammed it down in frustration after the call. So instead of the ball being placed on the 2 with 6 seconds left, the ball was placed on the 35 with 6 seconds left. Wilkins tried one last heave to the end zone, but it was knocked down, sending the Devils back to Tempe with a 28-21 loss, and the first loss of the Herm era.
There's several characters on this football team, and you see that from their antics on the sideline. We now bring in reporter Scotty Gange with us. And Scotty, the personalities of these guys extend from many things, whether that's from Herm's meetings or the practices, but a lot of it extends outside of football.
Yeah, Blaine, you know every Sun Devil has their own means of motivation they bring to the weight room, practice field, and stadiums on Saturday nights. But in talking with redshirt junior outside linebacker Malik Lawal, I learned that he brings his own motivation and inspiration from a much higher source.
Arizona State practice. It's a beautiful Wednesday. We're out here about to get this money, okay? It's game week, UTSA getting
There
ready.
are some people that no matter what, always seem to have a smile on their face. In Tempe, that man is Malik Lawal. The pre-med is a product of Temecula, California, and a graduate of Chaparral High School. An energetic and happy character on the practice field, his energy is contagious around the facilities and stadium. But that energy is not a fabricated trait. For Lawal, it's about honoring one of his best friends. On May 15, 2018, Shamar Turner sadly passed away from a fatal motorcycle accident. Turner and Lawal had been close friends since the start of middle school and graduated high school together.
Before the season started, he was telling me, he's like, bro, you got to ball out this season. Like, we need you to start and go crazy. So I'm just having that in me, in my heart, carrying that around with me, just like knowing that I can be focused as long as he's with me.
Shamar quickly turned from high school teammate to one of Lawal's biggest fans once they went off to college. And Malik is content knowing that he will have that and much more from here on out.
He said he's going to come to a bunch of games this year, but obviously he don't have the chance to. So now he gets to go to every single one I play in.
The tragic news struck Lawal and his group of friends hard. But doing their part in honoring Shamar's legacy together has given Lawal a peace of mind.
And like just having him like on my shoulder, just like watching over me, it was just like every game, like I just talk to myself and just like, bro, he's watching over me.
Through Malik and his close-knit group of friends, Shamar will never be forgotten. Through all the difficult times, Malik has stayed true to himself and has been motivated to respect and honor his good friend who touched so many people. Yeah, Malik later told me that he and his group of friends have never been closer than they are right now. And through all the adversity, he comes to practice every single day with a big smile on his face. Guys, back over to you.
Well, thanks, Scotty, as always. But we're going to go into our next segment called Pros and Cons. Blaine's got the pros. I have the cons. I'll go ahead and lead it off with the first con. The run game is pretty much non-existent. You know, Eno Benjamin hasn't really gone off since that first game against UTSA. hasn't rushed for more than 30 yards in the last 2 games.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the run game hasn't been there, but I want to throw this at you. The receiving game looked really, really good, especially from Frank Darby. Brandon Ayuk also getting his first Sun Devil touchdown. Here are these numbers on Darby. 5 receptions, 127 yards. Ayuk gets his first career touchdown. 7 different receivers for 341 yards. That's pretty darn good if you're Manny Wilkins and throwing to this receiving core.
Yeah, I'll throw it back over to the Cons. The third down conversion rate, here I'll throw some more numbers at you. They only converted 32% of their third downs over the past 3 games. That's tied for 107th in the country. Not looking good for the Sun Devils on third down, Blaine.
Yeah, you mentioned the number 100, but you know who also keeps it 100? It's Manny Wilkins, especially from his style points. The human highlight is back, baby. 2 hurdles in the game, one of them for a touchdown. He's looking so good, and his skills as a passer, very impressive. Throwing a couple long bombs to Frank Darby. The accuracy has really gone up for Manny Wilkins, and I just see a very bright future for him going into Pac-12 play, and especially towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and we're going to go back to my final con, and it's win the line of scrimmage for defensive linemen specifically. You know, over the past 2 games, they did that. They did exactly that, win the line of scrimmage. They got off the ball very well. But over this past game, they allowed 138 yards to Juwan Washington and company. Not a very good start to the game against San Diego State, and they're going to need to improve on that tremendously heading in to Washington.
Yeah, but the thing is, Juwan Washington is one of the best running backs in college football. So
agree.
when you have a guy like that and you're having to go up against him, it's pretty tough. The thing about this Sun Devil team, they are tough. Did you see the competitiveness from them on the sideline, the fired up attitudes that they have? N'Keal Harry going in on people, the defense really trying to get rowdy. And I'll point this out, they did not quit in that game. There was a lull in that stadium towards the end of the game, but the competitiveness from them really drove that. And that's what Herm Edwards pointed out in his press conference on Monday. The competitiveness of this team and the pure emotion that they have is really what's going to keep them in those big-time games. So that's my last pro. We're going to end on a high note, and we want to send it over to Jordan Palacio for Around the Pac-12.
Thanks, guys. It was another busy week in the Conference of Champions as most teams wrapped up their non-conference play. Join me in going all around the Pac-12 here in Week 3. First up, we have Oregon State versus Nevada, and before a very bad week for kickers in the pros, the kicking woes began Saturday night. After trailing by 23 points, the Beavers pulled to within 2 points and set up for a potential game-winning 34-yard field goal. And kicker Jordan Jucaire pulled the kick left, just like how I pull my drives left on the golf course. Nevada escaped with a 37-35 wins. The Devils weren't the only ones to have their hearts broken. On Saturday, now follow me, we're going to head over to our second game of the week. We're going to go to Austin, Texas for a matchup between 2 traditional powers in the NCAA, USC and the Longhorns. And then the Trojans jumped out to a 14-3 first quarter lead in this one, but USC would not score after that. Texas went on to score 34 unanswered points. JT Daniels threw 300 yards for USC, but the Trojans ended the game with -5 rushing yards. Sounds a lot like ASU. The final from Austin, 37-14, and USC also dropped to 1-2 this season. And finally, join me as we head over to Utah for a little Pac-12 action between the Huskies and the Utes. Utah's game could be epitomized in here in just a couple of plays. Late in the third quarter, up 21-7, Jake Browning threw a pick and it's returned by lineman Pita Tonga. Tonga has a surefire pick six, but while completely untouched, he fumbles the ball out of bounds. You can't make that stuff up. A few plays later, 4th and goal from the 1 for Utah. They run a play-action pass, and quarterback Tyler Huntley threw it to tight end Connor Holler, and he drops it wide open. Would have gotten it for a touchdown. The Huskies escape with a 21-7 win in a game that should have been a lot closer than it actually was. Well, that's all the time we have this week. I'll send it back to Blaine at the desk. Blaine, try not to work too hard over there.
Well, by now you've probably heard that N'Keal Harry can do some pretty spectacular things on the gridiron. Saturday night was no different. Late in the fourth quarter, the playmaker caught 4 passes for 47 yards and a touchdown in one drive. That touchdown would put Arizona State only down by 1 score and was a key component to the near tie in the final seconds. Relive that key score with the voice of Cody Whitehouse for our Blaze Radio call of the game.
Wilkins back in the gun, motions Jenkins to his right, looks to his left side, up to Harry. That ball will be caught. Touchdown, N'Keal Harry, and there is a chance for this Sun Devil offense. N'Keal Harry comes up with the touchdown catch over number 27, Kyrie Woods on the coverage, and the Sun Devils aren't just gone yet.
And as always, you can catch Arizona State football on BlazeRadioOnline.com. This weekend, Braden Bell and Richard Giraffa will be calling the game from Seattle to see if the Devils can upset the 10th-ranked team in the nation once again.
As a fifth-year walk-on transfer and a product of Chandler High School, defensive lineman Jordan Hoyt grew up watching Arizona State football and dreamed of putting on a Sun Devil uniform ever since he was a kid. However, Hoyt never got the offer from Arizona State coming out of high school and decided to play his college ball at UC Davis. After playing for the Aggies for 2 years, he then decided to walk on at Arizona State as a JUCO transfer. In his first year as a Sun Devil, Hoyt was named the Defensive Scout Player of the Year in 2016. After a year on the scout team and another year of getting second-team reps and occasional first-team reps here and there, he finally earned what he had dreamed about his whole life, a scholarship to play football for Arizona State. And it's why Jordan Hoyt is our feel-good story of the week. All right, we're going to kick things off with our Pac-12 plays of the week, and Khalil Tate doing Khalil Tate things as he heaves one deep to Devon Cooper. Very nice catch. We're going to show it to you again. Blaine, heck of a catch.
I love that catch, but you know what I love is fancy footwork. Here's Lil Jordan Murphy with the spin move and going downfield. 47-yard touchdown for Lil Jordan Murphy. Texas hooks the Trojans 37-14. And now USC, their second loss in a row. Not looking too good for USC.
Yeah, not looking too good at all. But speaking of plays that went to the house, we're going to show you another one as Travell Harris is bobbing and weaving for a 100-yard kickoff return to the hizzy. And he's gone at the 30, the 20. You know, Blaine, it's the rest is history. He's off to the end zone, off to the races. I like this one. He's beaving and bobbing and weaving and whoop! All the way to the end zone. He is gone, and he is to the house. That'll do it for this week's Pac-12 plays of the week. Yeah, Blaine, you don't see many kickoffs going to the hizzy these days.
I know, just the acceleration from that guy too. Were you ever that fast?
I was a little fast, not that fast. My fastest 40 though was a 4.89.
Ooh, there you go. But I think that guy must have ran like a 3.5 or something like that.
I'm not nearly as fast as that guy. So.
Well, that'll do it for this episode of The House. I want to thank you so much for joining us. For our producer, Noah Lau, he's Austin Burnett, I'm Blaine McCormick, and we'll see you next time. Sun Devils taking on the Huskies up in Seattle, and we'll see you next week.